Assalamu alaikum. We're about to start. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. We're about to start our fifth session. Last but not least session of the day. Please proceed to the main auditorium. ماذا تعربير الحمام معناته انت ما يحتاج
ختمنا مكة خلاص
كيف؟
ختمت مكة تقول كذا
ما يحتاج خلاص
ان شاء الله تبارك الله 33 سنة
ما شاء الله
يعني هنا لي دوب خرجت عن مكة 5 سنين جيت هنا
وتعاني
والله
يعني يقول محمد عبده عاني الساعة وعاني مسافة
بالله أول ما جيت أول 3 شهور بفصل من الشغل تعبت ما في ناس في الشارع ما في بالعكس أخرج الشارع أمشي أسلم على الناس ما حد يقول لي سلام تخيل منهم مثلا الناس قاعدين الحالة السلام عليكم
ما في حوش بكر هنا حوش بكر
ما في لا سيرين ما في ولا شيء يعني
والله أنا أكل سريع أنا عندي صبي هوساوي أروح إذا رحت مكة لازم أشوف لازم
نروح فين أي محل
نروح محل في الشرقية اللي طلع
أبو قدور
اللي طلع في العربية طلع
أيوه أبو قدور اللي على الطلعة
أيوه بس
أيوه أبو قدور
ايش احسن ما كان طيب سريع؟
هنا في ابو ياسر وفي هو ما هو بس ابو قدور هذا اللي حاليا هو الافضل وغير كذا بعدين في المسفله
في شيء هنا
هي في المسفله
والمطبق سندي والثاني هذاك شو اسمه اللي في جروه شو اسمه
اللي مفتوح 24 ساعه
ايه
هذاك جيعان ما حصلت مطعم ما لك الا هو
وش بعد الكبده فين؟
كبده في واحد فين اقول لك
ما كان قدام المعطاني شو اسمه؟
لا انا قفل
لا والله جيت في الحج حجيت انا
المعطاني وين؟
قصدك انت اللي عند الجسر
تقريبا ايوه اللي بعد البيت قدام
ايوه على الجسر
فين هذا فين؟
كذا في له دوران صغير
فين؟
في
60
في شارع 60
بعد البيت
اسمه ما يبي
ما شاء الله
لوحته حمراء
ايوه كذا
ايوه
طيب انا ما تعديت البيك على يد اليمين
ايوه تمشي بس شويه كذا يجيك على اليمين
على نفس
قبل جبت الجسر
ايوه
قبل الجسر بكتير
كويس
هي كويس
حاشي فيه
لا ما تقدر
انا الكوليسترول هذا
لا استنى
مختار بيرفع الخليج جو كلهم الراجل خلاص السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We start in our fifth session after the break and the Dhuhr prayer. The fifth session entitled Innovation and Future Acceleration in the Green Economy, and it will be chaired by Mr. Hemant Chaudhary. Hemant is an acclaimed international authority in the area of crucial economy and works extensively on the global initiatives with the United Nations, World Bank, and the international agencies. In a career spanning 28 years, he has worked for large corporations, governments, peak industry bodies, non-governmental organizations, municipal corporations, community groups, and venture capital investors. Without further ado, please, the floor is yours.
Welcome all to this last session and perhaps the exciting session of the conference. Has been a phenomenal conference, really, with the diversity of topics, presentations, and expertise that we have seen today and yesterday as well. This session will also kind of maintain that wonderful sort of tradition. We have been talking about various aspects of circular economy and green economy, and I guess this session is particularly important because it is about innovation and future acceleration of circular economy, because we all want to be there. We know that we are battling time with the issues that we are facing with resource depletion, with climate change, with pollution, with the entire aspect of quality of life. So I think this session is of great importance. And I guess I would like to, it's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker today. And he really has gone through his tribute to his commitment that he's driven. I think he had some issues with connection of flights, and he has driven actually for 3.5 hours to be here from Jeddah to actually be and give us a presentation. So I'm very pleased to invite Serge Connexa to the session, and he's going to talk about the path to the future for green economy. Serge brings nearly 30 years of experience in data communications and the IT networking industry. His experience ranges from working in the business of internationally expanding major telecommunications and civil infrastructure businesses, coordinating all the key elements of a new business, including time, money, resources, and technology throughout the multiple geographies and cultures. I think he was yesterday in Dubai in a major event. So I think, Serge, the floor is all yours. 20 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Hello, gentlemen. It's an honor to be with you. Like I will say, it was just really, I will say, presented, has been quite a challenge to arrive here, but I will say what is more important is to be here. Circular economy. I started, I will say, to rethink what is in fact the technology based on the scarcity of energy. Everybody knows what happened in Europe when it was Chernobyl, the first nuclear plant accident. And what happened, I would say, a few years later, it was in 2011, February 2011, it was Fukushima. And at that time, unfortunately, it wasn't one reactor who blew up, it was 6. The plutonium is still not found. Starting working on this, trying to understand what is the problem and how can we solve. At that time, the former president of the United States was Barack Obama, made a call from the White House in order to see how we can answer the demand on energy, I would say, in a situation where there is, I would say, an outdated industrial model. And we were still far to speak about carbon and carbon footprint and carbon emission, those kind of things. I answered that call. And what I look at the time, it was the situation on how the energy it is spent. Roughly, you have 30% about the transportation, and you have 50% for the transportation, and you have 50% for the building. When you look at the building, what is the building which is the most energy consuming, I would say, in the planet? Is the data center. And what is, I would say, the organism, which is today consuming most energy in the planet is an SA. So we are, I would say, from 10 years ago when we were starting looking at this, and especially now, there is a new currency. This currency is data. We are producing more data than ever. We have a technology today which is air and water cooling. And really when we are looking about the way data centers are conceived, this can be resumed on a very simple situation. I'm going to take an analogy and I will ask you to participate and to bear with me. If I want to cool off this bottle of water, how I'm going to do this? I'm going to cool off the water itself, or I'm going to cool off the entire room to cool off the water? Don't be shy, don't leave me alone. Of course, we're just going to cool off the water. We're not going to cool off the entire room. What is a data center? A data center is some things where we cool off the entire room to cool off this electronics component. if what we do with immersion 4, we are cooling off that electronic component specifically to a liquid. It's called DTM technology, dynamic thermal management technology. So I promise you're going to see the content. Basically today, when you look about, I would say, the building, and like it was, I would say, justly, I would say, appointed, what smart cities are all about, it's about mapping and zoning, and it's about, I would say, energy consumptions. In order to enhance the quality of life, to avoid to have too much money to be paid by the taxpayer for the cost of living, and still to be able to have something which is sustainable. We are, I would say, today in a situation where we are representing, I would say, we are over 8 billion people in this planet. If we really look at, I would say, the credential, and if we look, I would say, the way everything has been done, 300 years ago, we were 2 billion. For 800,000 years, the number of ppms were 300. In 60 years, the number of ppm goes up to 400, when the normal soil is 350. And what is more important than anything, we went in 300 years from 2 billion people to 8 billion people. What we see now, we look at the planet and we see that we are eating the planet, I would say, quicker and quicker and faster. Why? Because we have a society today which is not based on eco-conservation and environmental conservation. So when I was looking at that, data centers is part of the building. Data, we're producing data all the time, on our mobiles, looking at our TV. Everything is smart. Smart means data production everywhere. So we need to rethink the business model in order to make this happening. So this is basically one of the reasons why, because based on the fact that data is energy and what that means. I'm going to give you 2 years, and I'm going to give you 3 numbers. 2016, data center was representing 5% of the world energy, 3% of the greenhouse, and 626 billion liters of water. In 2025, and those numbers are verified right now, data centers are going to be representing 20% of the world energy, 10% of the greenhouse, and 1.3 trillion liters of water. The model doesn't stand. I don't want to tell you what I forecasted for 2030, because it's double this. And again, I want to be wrong. So what we have done, it's turning fast, is basically to reuse data and to be able to do that on using, I would say, eco-conservation as a social responsibility. Eco-conservation, what that means? That means that we just need to power the IT in order to not only get all the service that we need and all the performance that we need, but also to be able to reuse. Apparently, this is turning absolutely very fast, or way faster than I'm speaking, which is quite nice. By this being said, when we do eco-conservation, we can basically today save up to 98% on cooling energy, not being, I would say, impacted on the delta T, the temperature variations, and under any climate. When we look at really, I would say, the entire environment, basically we realize that on the world of energy and the world of resources, because there is so many resources that are available to produce energy, data become one of the stones, and it become a major one. So we need to rethink that, because, or we need to reuse it, because just to make an analogy, 5% of the world energy is 468 nuclear plants of 1 gigawatt. Imagine in 2025 it's going to be 4 times this. Well, there's some things we can do about it. By this being said, what we have done, I would say, as Immersion 4, privately owned company, we have done an ecosystem. And it must be an ecosystem in order to answer, I would say, the situation where we are today. What we have done here is an ecosystem based on 4 principles. Eco-conservation, the best energy you save is at first the one you don't spend. Environmental conservation, because it's about biodiversity and biology. Circular economy and eco-efficiency. Why circular economy? We need to share the value. We need to have, from inception, the technology to be designed in order to be produced everywhere. Because I do believe today the product has a cost, but I can be sure that tomorrow, and I said tomorrow, meaning maybe next year, the carbon footprint and the carbon cost will be added to the product. So when we really look at all these parameters, okay, those is very important, especially when this is matter and this is related to pollution, and in the same time to created value. created value for the community, being able to build the product also locally in order to reduce this carbon footprint. And after that, we talk about ecology sustainable. Well, it is biodiversity. We are not the biodiversity. We are just part of the biodiversity. Taking as an analogy, if you look at the forest, today there is forest burning almost everywhere. People said we can replant the forest. I said this is wrong, because those forests make 100 or 1,000 years, and they have all microsystem and microorganisms inside. That replanting a forest will never replace. So you can replace a tree and wait for some time, but all the microorganisms inside and the microlife in it, okay, is going to be gone. So based on this, we use a liquid that we have developed in order to cool off electronics of any fashion under anything. It could be a 5G base station, it could be a data centers, it could be any servers, anything which needs to be cooled off as electronics. And the sentence that we have is, let's keep the air underwater for the human being and the biodiversity, and let's give ice coolant, a liquid which is biodegradable and recyclable, to the electronics, and everything is going to be fine. So the vision that we have is, we need to come together. It's not about immersion form. It's about the usage. It's about the server. It's about the energy producer. It's about the people who are making decisions. The mayor, the city council, like all around the world. Who decide today to implement a data center or to implement a building? The mayor and the city council. They need to understand the challenge, because a data center impacts the grid, impact the energy distribution, impact the energy production, and you need to have a system which is not only sustainable, you can say using renewable energy, but you need also very constant energy. So traditional energy needs to be made. The grid needs to be updated, even if renewable energy are used. So in order to do that, that's a complete combination we need to be managed. That's the big picture as a smart city. Let's take that big picture, bringing back that big picture like some of the people who said came here and said to the building. Let's talk about in our house. We can have traditional energy. We can have solar panel or wind, depend on the availability. It's going to be a balance. And then to manage that, it is basically the temperature or the energy availability that we want to have. For this is called a BMS, a building management system. Basically the trigger that you have in your house telling you how much temperature do you want, how much energy do you want to spend for your TV or for everything that you need to power. So by this being said, I created also an ecosystem when there is a laboratory, when we have a concept of making data center free, 4 walls and the roof is a building, with technology which is 100% recyclable and completely reusable, designed for decades. And with a liquid, we basically solve the electronics problem. Imagine tomorrow, everything that you have in electronics, and I'm pretty sure you are using electronics in the many fashion for your activities, you have no more issue with dust, electricity, corrosion, oxidation, humidity, no thermal gradient, meaning temperature swing doesn't impact you, no more noise, and no more issue with the stability of the component. Well, basically, you increase the span life. What is, in fact, the key school effect that you have when you deal with electronics in that case? It's very simple. What is related to electronics today is called e-waste. Recycling electronic. Everybody knows that this is getting one of the major problems. We are talking about $68 billion on every year on wasted electronics that cannot be recycled. So like the nuclear energy used to be at some point, is far from the eyes, and then everything is managed. Well, used to be. At let's say 5 billion people, it's okay. 8 billion become ourselves a little bit later. So 8 billion, unfortunately, the planet doesn't buffer. And also we are increasing because the demographic is getting up, and we are talking about moving forward at 1 billion people every 13.7 years. That's the trend. So in order to do that, we need to rethink the system. Basically, what we have done is we are licensing our product. Our product can clearly be built and designed, locally in order to involve, the local communities. What are the direct impact? First of all, we avoid to create pollution. Second things, we create value where we are, and we reduce our footprint in terms of greenhouse, in terms of CO2, and in terms of water consumption. And the indirect impact is when you look at data centers, for example, in 3 countries, I'm going to take an example. One is Ireland, Ireland by the COP21 supposed to meet the carbon footprint, okay, based on the fact this is a small island, it was so many number of people, and you were just really able to power the island and to do everything and to meet the carbon emissions. They implemented data centers. They are not on target. So, and they were normally, I would say, the well-best situated. 2035, Switzerland. Clearly, at the time, it will be enough energy to power data centers, but not about for the people. And when we were at the ITU, we were the government of Singapore announced the day where we won the ITU because of I will say what we have achieved, that there will be no more data center in Singapore because there is no more electricity available. So we are arriving to a time where there is a change in paradigm, and we need to change this. So it's a matter of pollution. It's a matter of sharing the value. It's a matter of being able to not only sharing the value, but also being able to build locally, reduce the carbon footprint, and in the same time, answer a problem which is global. By this being said, that's the rules of engagement that we have created together. The local franchise is local people basically pushing the product and the solution on the civilian and the military market or the government market, with the local productions in order to ensure, I would say, a quick and fast delivery, and also, I would say, sharing the value also to facilitate the acceptance. And on our side, we are building global partnership, and we are constantly, I would say, making in R&D. So I'd like that picture. Everybody, I'm pretty sure, have seen a movie called Elysium, and he was, I would say, a very famous actor, and he was, I would say, his grandma down below. And she gave us, I would say, the medallions, and it was, I would say, the earth right on bottom. And he said, well, this is what the people from the top want seeing. So they are living in the Elysium, but they just want to be there. So we are in the Elysium. I think that's, for me, the way I see life. We can use the waste. The e-waste is energy. We can reuse it like we do it with data centers, like we do it with cogeneration, trigeneration. And what is a smart city? A smart city is smart energy. Why don't we are going to be, what about bundling data centers with cogeneration and trigeneration plants? Then using the data centers to stabilize renewable energy. What about, I would say, keeping air and water for the human and the biodiversity, and giving, I would say, high school and for the electronics, because we need it. Electronic doesn't need water. Well, the view from the space is pretty nice. That's the message. It's one sentence. Immersion 4 is just simply said, electronics and ice coolant, this is all what is needed. And the rest can be completely reused. By the way, especially here in Saudi or anywhere in the world where there is a hot climate, how do you cool off engines? With liquid. You never cool off engine with air. So why data centers have to be cooled off by air? And having these huge infrastructures around with this unsustainable economical model where we can have the same things with only 1 year return on investment and a TCO up to 90%. Well, we need your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Serge. Pretty interesting topic, and I was quite actually, shocked to know the figures you quoted about the energy requirement for data centers. So an angle which perhaps hasn't been explored, in the debate that we have. In circular economy and in the area of climate change and all those things. So it's pretty interesting that you're doing something which is picking up on that particular area. So I'm pretty sure there will be more questions on this, and we'll perhaps leave it till the end and continue. So our next speaker, let me get the order right, is Dr. Mohammed Al-Surf. And Mohammed is a holder of PhD in Sustainable and Green Construction, and he's Regional Manager and Market Development lead for the US Green Building Council in Saudi Arabia, lead facility. He's authored a book titled Sustainable Housing in Saudi Arabia, Opportunities and Challenges. And I had a great privilege to actually spend some time with him, Dr. Mohabbat, yesterday about his interesting journey. He spent, I think, 7 years in Australia, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, almost 7 years. So we become brothers from we got 7 years of work experience together, I guess. So Mohammed, I'm very keen to listen to you, and I'm pretty sure the audience is as well. And so it's all over to you.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I'd like to convey my appreciation and thanks to the Royal Commission of Jibal and Yamba for this amazing conference and organization. So today my topic is going to be about, what's next. So we talked about sustainability, we talked about green infrastructure, we talked about green economy, circular economy, and so on. So my speech would be talking about the application of what we have. So I'm going to talk about how can IoT support sustainability in the MENA region. So a brief introduction about IoT in the beginning so that I can get you into the mood of what is IoT and what's happening to date. So IoT is basically Internet of Things. So when we talk about the circular economy of the green economy that we are talking about for the past day and today as well, Internet of Things is what manages and what deals with all of this and keeps it in line and in check. So it's a very big industry, and we're talking about 12.6 billion as an investment by 2021 in just the applications of Internet of Things. And it will create tremendous opportunities for the industry in terms of jobs, applications, security, and so on. The potential of it, it's very significant. So according to the IDC data, IoT spending in the Middle East and Africa is predicted to be as high as 12.6 billion by 2021. So as part of IoT, we tend to get data, huge amounts of data. So we're talking about big data. So what's big data is basically you have all of this data flowing into the IoT system, and it's all about crunching these numbers and crunching this data and finding your goals or targets within that data infrastructure. So it's a tool or an asset that can increase and enhance your government or organization, private sector as well. We have seen that IoT and streaming Internet of Things into the Saudi Vision 2030, and it's been promoted by the Saudi government in terms of the National Transformation Plan 2020. And it's investing billions of dollars into this system. For example, growth from 16 billion, growth from 4.8 billion in 2014 to reach 16 billion by the end of 2019. It has increased its infrastructure capacity. Now we're reaching the 5G network as well. Its potential economic growth from 3.9 trillion to 11 trillion by 2025. Examples from the region in UAE, for example, it increased from it's still 500 million from IoT in 2017 to reach 900 million by 2021. Abu Dhabi has the same thing with the RTA investing in smart traffic projects. So that's basically the introduction of IoT and what's the importance of it in today's green economy. For green infrastructure, green projects, IoT is basically very important for it. So what we're talking about green buildings, it's no longer about a static building or just a structure. We're talking about how can the building talk back to us? How can we get more information on our performance. So, for example, when you get a certificate for a building that it was designed in a sustainable way, that's perfect. So what's next? It's not just about a certificate on a wall and some ceremony. We want the building to talk back to us and give us some data, give us some information. So that's what the concept of connected buildings is really about. So we talk about how can, for example, the variety, velocity, and volume of data that we can gather to information to help us manage the building. And that's really where big data comes in. It helps us to gather all of that data and make analysis of it to help us make our decisions. So, for example, decisions can be through, for example, how can I operate and maintain my building? How can I identify signs of failure? How can I correlate unexpected outcomes of the building if I am an investor? How to implement effective measurements, verification process and tools? How to drive continuous improvement measurements, monitor changing in operation and use conditions, and anticipating energy budget needs. So it's basically giving you a platform to analyze how the building is doing after you have invested in it to be a green building. So what is green building? We have many definitions, but the Environmental Protection Agency said the green building is the practice of creating structures and using processes that are environmentally responsible, resource efficient through building life cycle. So we're not just talking about the initial stage of the building from design and construction. We are actually emphasizing on what happens after construction. So you have 70% of the building life cycle is actually post-construction. So the operation and maintenance, that's where we try to talk about how your building can be connected. How can it talk back to you? We have this phrase says that you cannot manage what you don't measure. Okay? So as this figure shows, you have the conventional buildings. That's what we have as a normal rate. Now, in sustainability initiatives, we try to go towards green buildings. But some buildings use smart technologies, so they don't really focus on sustainable initiatives, so they go towards connected building. But our aim is really to go towards the fourth quarter of this chart is to have actually smart buildings where we have the smart technology IoT connection and also have it connect back to us. So this is basically where IoT, big data, and green buildings combined give us the result of a smart building that can have a very good impact on the green economy that we're talking about in this conference, also on the environment, sustainability, and social aspects. That brings us to the center core that I want to focus on, which is a living building. So the living building is basically combining all of that data from big data to communicate back to us, tell us that the energy performance of the building that it was designed based on is correct, it's still performing good, or it's bad, or so on. And IoT and green building in the current industry is actually addressed, as we saw today and yesterday, in the Sustainable Development Goals. So I'm focusing here on affordable and clean energy, and big data or IoT is a platform that can help us reach this goal. And we saw yesterday in one of the speeches that the Saudi vision is focusing on the Sustainable Development Goals, but actually are emphasizing on 6 of these 17 goals. So energy and clean energy is one of them. So that is really the revolution for a sustainable world. Also, one of the goals that IoT is a big contributor on is goal number 11, which is smart sustainable cities. So basically, definition of it is in the continuous of what is IoT, what is big data, what is green building, what is smart buildings. Combined is, when you combine all of those, it's really what gives us a smart city, a connected city, or a living city that communicates back to us and enhances the lives of people. So information and communication technologies is a key indicator or key player in the Sustainable Development Goal number 11. So why is it important? Basically because over half of the world lives in cities. Some research have been done by industry. For example, this shows some students analyzing data to know how the building is performing. So what I'm going to talk about later on is an application from cases that we have from the U.S. Green Building Council. Basically, we talk about technology. We have all of this throughout the whole platform. So we talk about the Internet of Things and how the building can perform better after it has reached the sustainability threshold in the very beginning. And the software, basically, it's reading the systems, 5 systems on the building. It's called an ARC. So the ARC platform basically measures the building and tells us how the building is performing. So it's diagnosing the building and tells us that the building is, okay, it's achieving this level in energy, this level in water, and so on. So let's look at the indicators for the ARC. So we look at 5 parameters: energy, water, waste, transportation, and human experience. So with those 5 indicators, basically you have the decision, okay, to make if the building is performing poor in energy, for example, or if you have a problem in the waste, or if your employers or occupants are not feeling very good in the space. So human experience comes into play. So it's basically a measurement for performance of green buildings, and it's not a step that you must take in order to get certification. It's just a tool to help you measure the performance of the building. And as I said, you can't manage what you don't measure. So how can you make sure that the building is performing the way that you had it in the target? So every industry has a target to reach by the end of the year. Carbon emissions, for example, corporate sustainability reporting. How can you make sure that you're going to achieve those goals if you don't have something to measure it with? So I'm going to give you a little bit of details on the system and what can it do. So it provides 5 categories and generates a score of 1 to 100 for each category. So energy, for example, energy, it's subdivided into these points. So you get out of 33 points, water out of 15 points, waste 8 points, transportation 14, and human experience out of 10. Okay, so basically in these 5 categories, it measures your energy performance in terms of tracking the energy consumption throughout the whole life cycle of the building. Same thing with water. Waste, you can choose the audit of the waste and track the procedure of waste, types of waste that you have. Same thing happens with transportation. So how do people come and go from the building? What types of modes of transportation? It's a survey that you conduct with the occupants. Same thing almost happens with the human experience. So you conduct a survey with the human experience living in the building or using the building. Are you satisfied with the environment or so on? So this is a baseline that tells me how the building is performing. A few more details on each category. So energy, for example, when we want to apply it, you basically provide the system with 12 months of data. So if you have a BMS system, you can connect it directly to the system and it reads all of the information. If you don't have a technology that can be applied, you can still input the data manually. And you can generally, as we said, with the big data and the IoT, it basically gives you all of the information that you can make decisions and benchmark against each other. So if you have a whole portfolio of buildings, you can use this to actually benchmark your building performance against the target of the organization. Same thing happens with the water. So you have 12 months of data for water consumption. It gives you a visual score of how your building is performing. After you put in the scores, you can have comparison data between each month. For example, November, how is it doing against October, or November this year against November last year. And all of that, you can dissect all of the data basically to get the information that you need to enhance the performance. Waste, you need to provide at least one waste analysis, which includes the weight of waste generated and the weight of waste diverted from landfill. So this is a very important one.
3 minutes.
Okay. In terms of transportation, you do a survey to get a score from 0 to 14. The survey is basically integrated into the platform, and it can be sent immediately from the platform to the users, and the users reply to it about what types of mode of transportation they have and how do they come and go from the building. A survey also is distributed to the occupants of the building about measuring their performance and human experience in the building. So it generates through a survey. Additionally, you need to conduct at least one air quality sampling of CO2 and total volatile organic compounds. So those are the 2 measurements for the human experience. Now you got all of the information. So now what's the next step? Now becomes the crunching of data and analytics. The platform itself, this is a screenshot from the from the individual platform. For one project, you have the 5 parameters on the left panel, and you can enter to each of these individual parameters and get data and get more information on, for example, this is a project that has 14 different projects within the same portfolio. So they can compare, for example, how are my buildings or portfolio in terms of energy doing? Are they achieving my targets for the year? And so you can compare the analysis, score it, and then increase or enhance your performance. So basically, it's not just getting the score. What can you do with the score? How can you manage your building to perform better? This is an example of a portfolio of several buildings. So the owner of this building can know, for example, building G is doing very well in terms of human experience. So why are the other buildings not reaching this level? So this tells the person here that I need to make a decision in different buildings to reach the level that I want to achieve, for example, in the human experience. This is a very important in terms of corporate sustainability reporting and carbon offsets. Is, for example, this platform can also give you indications of how your building is performing, and this portfolio gives several buildings and can compare their carbon offset, carbon emissions, and how can you reach your goal to minimize that effect. So regionally and globally, ARC has been performed and have been used all over the world. Saudi, we have a few projects that are undergoing this process. So it's a widely used system, very simple, and it's an open source. So any IoT can read from it and input data to it. In terms of waste, for example, this is a detail of the details of one item of score for waste generated. For example, you can compare September to October, and it gives you the overall general waste. You can either have manual input, you can upload an Excel file to it. Transportation, for example, you can know, depending on the mode of transportation, how people come and go to the building, and you can make decisions either to provide carpooling, buses, if you have the ability to do so. This is a screenshot from the survey that is sent to the people using the building in terms of transportation. So, for example, if you walk, how many miles do you walk? If you use trains and so on, and you can change the metric to kilometers or so on. Human experience, the same thing. This is a sample of the survey for the human experience. People just, pan left or right to either they are satisfied or not satisfied, and to also indicate why are they not satisfied. So we can read that as well. So almost finished here. This is the actual platform, how it's going to look like after all of the data is being input. And you can actually show this to your occupants, show this to your users. So you can have it in the foyer of the building, you can have it in the reception. You can even send it through a link on Twitter and WhatsApp. So people can actually have free access, if you want to give them free access, to show them how your building is performing. So this can be a very good marketing tool for people who want to invest in making their buildings transparent as much as possible. So basically, the building at the end achieved 78 points. Now, this doesn't mean that you get the LEED certification. This means your building, if you want to go for LEED certification, your building is performing at this kind of level. Now, the next step is your decision, either you want to go forward for certification or not. Now, LEED version 4.1 operation maintenance makes it much easier that you don't have to submit all of the documents that we used to use previously. So you can just let the building measure itself. These are a few examples of this is actually the previous one from our headquarters in Washington, D.C. So I hope that we can cooperate. Like Sir was saying, that we need to work together. We can make the change of the world. We are an organization that strives to be bigger, stronger, and bolder, and hopefully we can make a change for the better. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope the information was clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. We'll leave the questions to the end. Our next speaker is Mona Ahmed Farid Mustafa, and she's a lecturer at the Prince Magrin University in Al Adina Al Munawara. She holds a master's degree in architecture from Alexandria University after she graduated from there. Mona enjoys teaching. She has held different teaching positions in both Alexandria University and Prince Magrin University. So I would like to welcome Mona to the podium.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I would like to thank the Royal Commission for Jubail and Yomba for inviting me to be a speaker in this conference. My topic for today is Green BIM, Investigating Daylight Performance of Interior Environment. It's about how computer tools can help achieve green objectives. I'll start with an introduction. Then I will talk about BIM for sustainable building design. Then I will choose one strategy, which is daylight as an example of the sustainable strategies, and how can we use BIM tool to achieve the best daylight for a space. Then I will end with a conclusion. Designing sustainable building includes many sustainable strategies and a design team. As many sustainable strategies are cumulative and interdependent, and they affect one another, there's a need for a tool that can help manage all these strategies so all the changes are kept up to date and are shown together. In addition, it's important to predict how the building will perform before it's built. So the traditional way is to build a building in a program for just architectural-wise, then rebuild it again in simulation tool. So this wastes time and is inefficient. So there's a need for a tool that facilitates this process and have a direct input to analysis tools. Green BIM approach. Building information modeling has capabilities of analyzing and simulating and managing all strategies, and all the data are kept in one place. It also has the ability to a direct input of building geometry to analysis tools. I will talk briefly about sustainability, about BIM, then I will go deeply through the process of sustainable design with BIM. Sustainable development meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Rating system. Many rating systems emerged, like CASB, BREEAM, and LEED. This rating system provide benchmarks that can be used as goals to compare with when analyzing computer simulation tools. The benefits building. The entire life cycle of the building is considered: design, build, operation, information. All information about the building and its life cycle is included. Modeling, defining and simulating the building, its delivery and operation using integrated tools. BIM benefits. It's 3D simulation, not just 2D representation. It's accurate, not just an estimation. It's efficient. It reduces waste and mistakes. It has integrated documents. It gives a design phase visualization. All the materials can be extracted with their costs at any phases. It allows for the use of sustainable strategies. It also helps in construction planning and in post-occupancy and facility management phases. These are some BIM software like ArchiCAD, Graphisoft, Vectorworks, Bentley Architecture, and the most widely used in the Middle East and in Saudi Arabia is Revit Architecture. Using BIM along with sustainable design and construction techniques is referred to as green BIM. I will talk about green BIM from two perspectives. The first one is integrated project delivery, and the second is design optimization. Design optimization using inherent BIM features and using BIM-based analysis tools. Integrated project delivery. Using the traditional approach for designing has a big problem, which is waste and inefficiency, which is against sustainability. As the design process is cyclical and it requires continuous refinement, and there are many sharing and coordinating with the project team. Therefore, there are many opportunities for miscommunication during this whole process. When using BIM approach, it gives us the ability of data exchange and communication amongst all the stakeholders. It allows for structural analysis, building performance analysis, and many other analyses. It also reduces the risk and duration and costs. Design optimization. Sustainable strategies using inherent BIM features. Optimizing the integrated strategies for sustainable design requires understanding how all these strategies work together. BIM gives the ability to iterate and analyze faster than the traditional way. BIM-based analysis tools, performance analysis tools that are linked to software. There are many performance analysis tools that has a direct link to BIM tools. And others should export the BIM model from the BIM software to perform the analysis tool in another platform. This inform and evaluate decisions. And when we export the model instead of rebuilding it again, it saves time and effort. And listed some building performance analysis that can be done in different design stages, like energy modeling, climate analysis, daylight analysis, envelope optimization, sun and shadow studies, and wind analysis. Now I'll talk specifically about daylight as an example of sustainable strategies. I will firstly talk about daylight optimization using inherent BIM features. As we all know, daylighting is the controlled use of natural light. It includes direct sunlight and diffuse daylight, which are reflected or blocked. A daylit space combines high occupant satisfaction and low overall energy use for heating, lighting, and cooling. There are many design analysis and techniques for daylighting, such as the physical model, which was used in the past in order to measure how the amount of lighting around the building and inside the building. The other one is daylighting rules of thumb, which is the relationship between the height of the window and the depth of the space. And nowadays, there are computer simulation methods which aid and which enhances the analysis process. Daylighting strategies using inherent BIM features. BIM provides visualization. It gives us a rendered or just visualize how many alternatives can be shown before it's built, so we can make the best decision regarding the materials and regarding the shape of the building. It also provides quantity comparison. Separate quantity takeoffs can be extracted for cost comparison between design options in order to make the best decision as well. Daylighting design is affected with building orientation, massing, facade design, interior material and finishes, and it affects energy and cost. Building orientation. Proper orientation allows for the best use of natural light. It also allows for solar-based passive strategies and wind-based. It reduces energy used for lighting, heating, and cooling. And this is how the process goes in BIM software. First, we insert some data, like we insert building location in BIM software. The program will give us the sun path, the site latitude and longitude, and then we can decide, we can make the best decision for the building orientation, and therefore we can have some sustainable achievements such as occupant comfort, energy efficiency, and many other achievements. And this is how it's shown in Revit architecture as an example to BIM software, how the sun path is shown and how we start orienting the building in order to have the best orientation for the use of natural light. The second thing that affects the daylighting is building massing. Proper massing allows for daylight access. And here we can see what we can insert in BIM software and what are the outputs. For example, we insert site constraints, alternatives for building massing. The output will be the obstructions, cost estimation, energy analysis if possible in BIM software. And then we can make the best shape of the building, which allows for the best use of natural light, and we therefore will have some sustainable achievements such as thermal comfort, low construction costs, good access to daylighting, energy efficiency, and low operating costs. And here we can see how it looks in BIM software. We start modeling all the surrounding buildings and start putting our mass and see if there are some building that can block the light or we still have access to daylight. Another item is envelope optimization. What we insert in BIM software are we start modeling shading devices, use different glazing materials, and locate the window and the size of the window. Then the output will be render images to study sun and shadow, render images to compare between effectiveness of shading devices and glazing types, window location and size. Then we can make the best decision for shading, glazing, and window selection that provide adequate daylight into the building. The sustainable achievements would be good access to daylight, thermal comfort, energy efficiency, and low operation costs. And this is how we can study the elevation of the building in winter, equinox, and in summer, and how this can affect our design. And here also we can see a deeper study for the building. It's the mass and the facade, and how the winter sun and the summer sun, the relationship between it and between the use of the outer shades. The last thing is interior space features. Interior space features affect the amount of light in the space. These features include orientation, depth and height, and interior finishes. What we actually do is that we insert building location, we insert different material with different colors, and we add window location, size, glazing, and building surrounding. Then what BIM gives us is we can compare different rendered images with different colors and reflectance of interior surfaces, glazing area, and all required elements to calculate daylight factor. And then we can decide the best room orientation, the best room dimensions, best surface colors and reflectance to increase light. And here we can see different colors and how the color of the interior space affect the amount of lighting in a space, and therefore affect our decision in the interior finishes in order to achieve the required amount of light in a space. The last thing I will talk about is beam-based daylight analysis. Daylight analysis images are rendering for the scientific quantification of light in a space. The light levels in a space are shown in three ways: false color images, a grid of light levels, a light level contour map. BIM model export formats. There are many different formats that a BIM model can be exported to analysis tools, such as GBXML, DXF, DWG, FBX, and there are different levels of daylight analysis. Level 1 is we can do the analysis during the schematic design phase. Level 2, when we have more details in the interior space. Level 3, greatest simulation details, when we have like the building as it's going to be built with all the details of the furniture, all the details of the finishes, materials, walls, and floors. Before we do the analysis, we must set goals, as each space requires different amount of light. Such as in schools and offices, it requires 300 lux as minimum, 400 lux as medium, and 500 lux as maximum. These are some software that can perform daylight analysis, like Autodesk 360, IES Virtual Environment, Design Builder, Velux Daylight Visualizer. In conclusion, the research illustrated the following: BIM capabilities in the design process to achieve green objectives. The contribution of BIM to sustainable building design is illustrated from two perspectives of integrated project delivery and design optimization. Daylight performance as an example of sustainable strategies and an explanation of BIM role for optimizing daylight strategies. The most frequently used daylight analysis software. The interoperability between BIM model and performance analysis tools varies in difficulties. BIM software is not by itself a full features analysis tool. It can, however, be a powerful tool for supporting sustainable design goals. Other sustainable strategies can be integrated to the design process with BIM as daylight strategy. This study is not exclusive to daylight design, but it's an approach of a comprehensive integration of sustainable strategies with BIM. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mona. Let's open the floor. I would like to take questions from the floor to the panel.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. First of all, I would like to thank Royal Commission Management for organizing such a wonderful conference. Secondly, I would like to thank and appreciate the panelists for sharing some of their experiences and best practices. Then I would like to make some wishes that I would love Royal Commission to take the lead and make a leap in the green economy, in terms of, or on the individual level. As we all know that Royal Commission is doing a great job in the industrial level. On the other hand, I would love to see some tangible actions and changes in our community regarding the green economy, such as what was talked about yesterday by Mr. Chaudhry in Adelaide, Australia. They started or they banned the single-use plastic, which can be implemented in our city. Such regulations, small maybe small steps or baby steps for creating a better environment for our next generation, our kids and our future generations. These baby steps, we can implement them easily by taking the Royal Commission management, adopting some of these regulations and best practices done overseas, whether in developed countries, some of the developed countries like Australia, and even some underdeveloped countries like Philippines, who are also banning the single-use plastic. This is one of the things that I would like to see the Royal Commission implement and do in our community. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for the comments. There's one.
Sure.
Can you please also introduce yourself so that I think there is someone here.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammed Hafiz from Royal Commission Engineering Department. I just wanted to ask a question regarding knowledge gaps in sustainable economies and green economies. As we see, there are parallel collaboration and approaches towards sustainability goals. They are largely built on data to understand and improve to meet the sustainable circular economy or improve on the current situation. Are there any platforms to integrate and to utilize those goals and to bridge the knowledge gap between what is best practice and what is currently practicable in KSA? That's question number one. Number two, being an architect, I can't run away from the BIM question. Now, with BIM, the software, it's often proactive, meaning progressive. You're designing something in the future. But in Australia, where I come from, there's also use of BIM to use it as a retroactive tool to analyze the energy requirements of existing building stock and to improve upon the building stock and to reuse and recycle the existing building stock rather than to waste resources to build new ones. So those are my two questions. First one is how to bridge the knowledge gap, and number two, can we use BIM other than its intended understood purposes? Thank you.
Who would like to take that question?
We have 1 more minute, sir. 1 more minute, we have to conclude. So there will be last comment.
Yes. Just briefly.
Well, specifically when you design, I would say, the smart city, I would say the design building, the BIM is quite important because this is the BIM information management. There is two other things which are also important, which is the LIM, landscape information management, and also the SIM, which is taking, I would say, the globality of the city information management. When you bundle, I would say, all of this together, this is giving you, I would say, the vision of what the city could be, what the city is, and what the city operates. It is, I would say, the combination of the three things together, basically, I would say, making, I would say, your city smart, and you can see, I would say, the progress, the way the city is being designed in respect to the quality of life to the people inside. So that's one thing. That's the only way today you can build, I would say, the sustainable city. Then after that, you need to combine the energy production with the use of the energy waste, meaning any plant that you use today to produce energy, and also any plant that you use to recycle, I would say, the waste by any means. In that case, okay, you can create a smart city which will be smart energy, because there is no smart city which are not smart energy. And if you look at, I would say, the presentation we have done here, when we spoke about data, only data. Well, just remember just one thing. Without energy, there's no data. So the two have to be combined together. If such a platform exists today, the answer is no. It's a combination, and this is why I said an ecosystem and a mix of competencies between architects, decision makers, mayors, city, council, and industrials are important to have them to work together in order to create this.
Thank you.
But this is a big thing.
Thank you for those comments. I'll just like to take a minute. First of all, sincere thanks to the Royal Commission for Jubail and Yambu for a fantastic conference. Not just warm hospitality, but that was combined with a very thorough professionally run conference. The diversity and the quality of the presentations were fantastic. We covered a lot of grounds. We had experts from diverse backgrounds from different countries. And a few things that I think I took personally from this conference was that how an overarching vision is critical to drive the transition to green economy, how it is critically important for governments to develop an ecosystem which covers futuristic policy, incentives, good governance. We saw some wonderful presentations on technology and innovation. We saw the role thought leadership capacity building programs have to play in driving the change. And I guess personally, again, the fantastic journey of Yambu in the last 40 years from where it was to where it is now and where it wants to be in the next foreseeable future is absolutely mind-boggling, and it was something that I really enjoyed listening to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for all that.
And my sincere apology, we're out of time. Thank you very much. We'd like to thank the moderator and the dear panelists for this very informative session, as all the sessions that we had. We had very interesting and informative sessions during the 2 days of the event. Now it gives me a great pleasure to invite His Excellency Engineer Ali Al-Fahedi, the chairman of the conference, to to honor the speakers of the day. Please, Engineer Ali. We'd like to honor the speakers of today, starting with Mr. Edward Moni. Mr. Edward Moni. Mr. Peter Smeets. Mr. Gordon Boyd. Mr. Fazl Abdul Rahman had to leave. Dr. Alexander Jovich. Dr. Alexander. Mr. Jose Antonio Albarish. Mr. Sergey Kunisa, Sergey. Dr. Muhammad Asrf. Last but not least, Ms. Muna Mustafa. Engineer Ali Al-Fahedi, the chairman of the conference, will honor also Dr. Mohammed Al-Anizi. Dr. Mohammed Al-Anizi is the Director General of Gulf Forums and Exhibition Company. Please, as a token of appreciation for his effort in helping organizing this very interesting event. Ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, thank you, Engineer Ali. Last but not least, we'd like to invite His Excellency Dr. Fahad Al-Aufi, the Managing Director of Yanbu Industrial Colleges and Institutes, to recite the recommendations of the conference.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. توصيات المؤتمر العالمي الثامن لبيئة المدن 2019 بعنوان المؤتمر السعودي للإقتصاد الأخضر، والذي عقد في مركز الملك فهد الحضاري مدينة ينبع الصناعية المملكة العربية السعودية بتنظيم مشترك من الهيئة الملكية بينبع ومركز البيئة للمدن العربية وبدعم من بلدية دبي ومنظمة المدن العربية خلال الفترة من 25 والسادس والعشرين من شهر نوفمبر لعام 2019. أصحاب السعادة، الأخوة الخبراء والمتحدثين والمشاركين في المؤتمر، حضورنا الكريم، في البداية يطيب لي أن أتقدم باسمي وباسم الهيئة الملكية بينبع بالشكر الجزيل لراعي المؤتمر معالي رئيس الهيئة الملكية للجبال وينبع المهندس عبد الله بن إبراهيم السعدان، وإلى جميع اللجان التنظيمية والعلمية واللوجستية التي عملت بجد وإخلاص لإنجاح هذا المؤتمر العلمي الهادف وتمكينه من تحقيق أهدافه التي عقد من أجلها. ونخص بالذكر شركاءنا في مركز البيئة للمدن العربية. ولا يسعنا إلا أن نشيد بدور كل من ساهم في نجاح هذا المؤتمر، ونشكر الرعاة والمحاضرين والمشاركين وغيرهم ممن كان لهم دور فاعل في إحياء جلسات المؤتمر. أصحاب السعادة، الأخوة الحضور، لقد تم افتتاح مؤتمرنا هذا برؤية عصرية عن دور الاقتصاد الأخضر في تحقيق التنمية الاقتصادية والبيئية والاجتماعية من أجل الدفع بالعملية التنموية المستدامة في المدن. ويسعدنا في الختام أن نعلن لكم جملة من التوصيات التي تم استلهامها من الأوراق العلمية للمؤتمر أو من خلال توصيات الباحثين والخبراء والمشاركين، لتمثل خارطة طريق تمكن من تعزيز الاستدامة في عملية التنمية لمدننا العربية والمناطق الصناعية. التوصيات العلمية للمؤتمر: أولاً، يقدم جميع المتحدثين والمشاركين الشكر للمملكة العربية السعودية حكومة وشعباً على حسن الاستضافة والتنظيم، مثمنين ما قدمته الهيئة الملكية للجبال وينبع ومركز البيئة للمدن العربية وجميع الشركاء والشركات الراعية واللجان التنظيمية من جهود مشكورة لإنجاح هذا المؤتمر العلمي، متمنين استمرار هذه اللقاءات العلمية الهادفة بشكل دوري. ثانياً، تقوم اللجنة التنظيمية للمؤتمر واللجنة العلمية بالخطوات اللازمة لتعميم مخرجات التوصيات النهائية للمؤتمر على جميع المدن العربية والمنظمات والجامعات ومؤسسات البحث العلمي والإبداع والابتكار المتخصصة بموضوع المؤتمر وكافة وسائل الإعلام من أجل التعريف وتعزيز الوعي ونشر الثقافة وممارسة الاستدامة والاقتصاد الأخضر أملاً في تطبيقها على أرض الواقع. ثالثاً، محور دور القطاع الخاص، وذلك بضرورة أن يوفر متخذ القرار ومخطط المدن البيئية التشريعية والتنظيمية التي تسهم في تعزيز وتنظيم دور القطاع الخاص من خلال النقاط التالية: 1. تخطيط وإنتاج وممارسة سلوكيات تنموية محفزة ومستدامة تعتمد التكامل مع الرؤية الوطنية للتنمية في كافة أبعادها الاجتماعية والبيئية والاقتصادية، وتعزز من فرص مشاركة القطاع الخاص في تحمل مسؤوليته الوطنية والمجتمعية والبيئية، وإيجاد روح التفاعل الإيجابي مع المجتمع المدني للتعاون المثمر في كافة ركائز التنمية ومكوناتها. 2. تبني أفضل الرؤى والاستراتيجيات الداعمة للتحول نحو الاقتصاد الأخضر والاقتصاد المعتمد على التدوير وتكييف أفضل الممارسات والتجارب للنهوض بالتنمية المستدامة والمحافظة على موارد الطاقة النظيفة والمتجددة على المستوى الوطني وعلى المستوى المدن، وفي برامج محددة ومنهجية قابلة لتبادل المعلومات والبيانات وتحقيق قياس النتائج وتطوير الواقع. 3. حث المدن والمؤسسات والشركات على وضع تعزيز نظم رقابية معتمدة ومعايير بيئية موثوقة ضمن منظومة حوكمة رشيدة تدعم القرارات الاستراتيجية والتشغيلية وتحفيز كافة الجهات على المساهمة الجادة في تحقيق التنمية المستدامة وتحد من آثار التغير المناخي السلبي، وببناء نظم الإنذار المبكر وتحديد استراتيجيات إدارة المخاطر لمواجهة الكوارث والمخاطر المحتملة واتخاذ التدابير اللازمة لمواجهة هذه الحالات. 4. ضرورة الالتزام بمعايير الاستدامة ومراعاة أنظمة البناء الأخضر والاستناد إلى أعلى معايير التصميم والمستدام في كافة المشاريع الحكومية ومشاريع الأعمال، واستخدام التكنولوجيا الحديثة الصديقة للبيئة وتطبيقات الذكاء الاصطناعي وإنترنت الأشياء في بناء المدن الصناعية والذكية. 4. محور تعزيز البحث العلمي وتحفيز الجامعات الوطنية ومؤسسات البحث العلمي ومؤسسات خدمة المجتمع من خلال النقاط التالية: 1. المساهمة بأبحاث ودراسات ومنتجات إبداعية مبتكرة تساهم في دفع الرؤية الوطنية للأمام، وتساهم في التقليل من وقع التحديات التنموية والاهتمام بتدريس الاستدامة والتثقيف بالاقتصاد الأخضر ومكافأة الجهود البحثية التي تتحلى بالريادة والإبداع والابتكار. 2. تعزيز التعاون العلمي وبناء نظم لشراكات دولية وإقليمية ووطنية مع المنظمات الدولية والجهات المتخصصة ذات العلاقة بهدف نقل الخبرات والتقنيات النظيفة الحديثة الداعمة للاقتصاد الأخضر. 3. تعزيز عملية التثقيف المجتمعي بأهمية البيئة والاستدامة وكيفية الوصول للاقتصاد الأخضر وتطوير برامج تأهيلية وفرص المشاركة المجتمعية والاستثمار في بناء الموارد البشرية الوطنية الخبيرة من خلال برامج تطوير القدرات من أجل إعداد قيادات وطنية ترعى التغير نحو الاقتصاد الأخضر والتنمية المستدامة. هذا وقد أكد المتحدثون والسادة الحضور على أهمية هذه المؤتمرات واللقاءات العلمية التي تسهم في تبادل التجارب والخبرات وأفضل الممارسات والحلول الاستراتيجية والتقنية المتقدمة وقدح الأفكار النيرة للتصدي للتحديات البيئية ومواجهتها بفكر علمي إنساني منفتح على كل ما يخدم المجتمعات الإنسانية أينما كانت. وبهذا نختتم مؤتمرنا هذا مكررين الشكر لكل من ساهم في إثراء وتميز هذا المؤتمر الرائع، متمنين رؤيتكم في مناسبات قادمة، والله ولي التوفيق، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you دكتور فهد العوفي. هناك بس تنبيه، نحن اقتربنا من الختام بإذن الله. إرجاع سماعات الترجمة إلى نقطة التوزيع. Please return the translation devices to the distribution point. Dr. Ali, anything before we conclude? Thank you all very much for joining us. We'd like to extend our thanks to the speakers, moderators, organizers, obviously the Royal Commission of Yanbu for this great effort in bringing this event to the light, and obviously this such a conference is extremely important for the current world economy and for the current environment in general in the world. So this is part obviously of the efforts exerted by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in paying attention, more attention to the environment and to improving the environment in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, whether in the industrial areas or non-industrial areas. Thank you all very much. We'd like to hope to see you next year, God willing, in the same event. We'd like to invite you now for lunch in the same place like yesterday. Thank you all very much, and looking forward to see you next year. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.